Okay, guys, so today we're gonna watch a little bit and know a little bit of the story of Disney. Why we're gonna approach the story of Disney and not Warner Brothers or some other one. Yeah, and the uh, the answer is really easy, and it's because of even if Disney now is just a big emporium of different things, right? Filmmaking, amusement parks, animation, and different things like that. Uh, Disney uh, kind of like checked into like the one what was one of the main industries in the golden era of the animations. So the golden era is like a period of time that we find in the history of filmmaking and on animation, which is between the 30s, 40s, and 60s, maybe 50s and 60s. Mostly is in the 40s and 50s, in which is the animation got a big chunk of uh, of kind of like a advance into the filmmaking or into the on the way that we made the animations, and and it was so big how in that period of time the animation kind of like developed by itself. It got bigger and bigger and bigger, that the filmmaking by itself in the filmmaking industry uh, got a push, right, into what we know right now of doing filmmaking. So some of the inventions that the filmmaking has by itself actually started in the animation kind of like area of golden era, right? And that makes Disney one of the biggest industries that actually approaches the techniques in animation and create, and by doing that it create a big emporium, right? It became a big industry that what we know now is Disney, right? So it's important that the industry by itself. I'm not saying that I'm actually a Disney fan. I'm not a Disney fan. I like the golden era animations, the early animations of Disney. Actually, I'm in love in some of the shorts that Disney made. Uh, the industry, right? Not Walt Disney, but the industry made at the beginning, um, which are pretty cool, and it marks a new era of animation, and that's why I'm kind of like I'm in love in those animations. But I'm not saying that I'm a Disney fan. So, uh, not not even the most recent animations. I don't actually like them. Maybe one series that they made recently, trying to imitate the style of the old ones, and maybe that one is pretty good. But what I find in the Disney Channel or something like that is I'm not myself, right? I'm not that into it. So so that's pretty much my approach to Disney, right? But again, I'm saying Disney is one of the biggest industry, and being a biggest one of the biggest industry, it was a pioneer in some of the inventions that actually help out the animations and to develop into the animation that we know right now, and to develop into the filmmaking industry too. So that's why it's that important into the history of animations and filmmaking again, right? So to talk about Disney, we gotta talk of some of the first ones, right? That worked in Disney, and of course we have to work. Have to talk about the Disney by itself. You know, the Walt Disney, right? So Walt Disney, he was born at the beginning of the 1900s, right? He was born in 1901, right? Well, I'm gonna type it right here. Uh, right? Walt Disney in Chicago. He was born in Chicago, and he was the youngest of five siblings, I guess. I think it was five siblings, right? He was him and four more other brothers, right? Which is that's saying a lot. Why? Because since he was the youngest, he actually he didn't have that many people to hang out with. The second youngest is his brother Roy, which is we're gonna talk a little bit more later because he's actually really important in this filmmaking industry. In how Disney got into a company, a solid company. Uh, so Roy, he was kind of like the he was older than Walt, but he was a little bit not that old, right? So they were like the two youngest kids, right? In that family. Even though um, from early age, Walt Disney he went into to painting and drawing and things like that, right? He used to live in a farm in 1906, I guess. Maybe I forgot. 1906. No, 1906. Into a farm in which he started to he didn't have that many. Of course, it wasn't television at that time, and it was a farm, so they can actually go to entertain themselves too much. So he started painting, right, in an early age, at the age of 5, while his siblings, I'm saying the brothers and sisters. I forgot if he had some sisters, but his siblings they worked in the farm, and his dad worked in that farm. So he was so young, he couldn't actually work that much, but from that early age he had to work. He had to like do some errands in his dad's or in his family situation, right? In his family life, he had to run some errands. So saying that, he had some time to paint, right? He had some time to paint and draw and do things in that farm, right? That developed into his brain a kind of like a please of approaching art, right? To draw, to invent things by drawing them, by painting them, and that was pretty good. But but he also from an early age he learned what uh, uh, what a family had to do to earn some money, right? So his dad his dad got sick in 1909, and they have to move to Kansas in 1910. I'm sorry, 1910. 1910. They have to move to Kansas, right? Kansas, because his dad got ill. Yeah, he got ill and sick, right? Got sick, and they have to move. They couldn't work in that farm anymore, so they moved to Kansas, and they start to they create this company of delivering the newspaper, and they had to deliver the newspaper from house to house, and since Walt it was not 10 years by that time or 9 years at that time, he had to work too. So with his brother, with Roy, and the dad, they went from house to house in the early in the morning, and they delivery, they throw the newspaper into the houses, and that's it, right? Newspaper delivery, right? Now, since that early age, he had to like create. He started to understand what a business was. So actually, that family, the Disney family, is more of a business family more than a art family, right? They were more into the in the business wise thing, right? Roy, Walt, and that the dad, I think his name was Elias. That, right? Elias. Elias. Okay. So they had to work in that, while the other relatives, they actually work in different things, and the mom stay at home, I guess, something like that, right? Uh, he says once in I think he actually says in one of the movie, I forgot the name of the movie, but he says in an interview and in a book of his biography that he from an early age he had to work by of delivering newspaper, and sometimes it was so hard because at that time he could encounter like the cold weather in winter, and after delivering the newspaper, he found that his skin got to rip from the cold weather, right? And the shoes got wet, and the fingers got, when you go to a swimming pool, or you take a long shower, like the skin wrinkle in your hands. So he pretty much he had that all the time. So that's why he kind of like got into not in an argument, but kind of like into something in his heart, in his mind, against his dad, by his dad being so tough to him, right? Making him work at an early age, right? And not allowing him to be a kid, to growing up to be a kid. So that was kind of hard for him. And some of the movies that he makes, um, he actually, if you notice, he made some of the movies for Disney. Uh, they they lack or of a mother figure or of a father figure, right? Like the father is absent in the life of the characters. I don't know if you noticed that, you know, like in Cinderella, or in the Beauty and the Beast. Maybe there's not a mother for the main character and things like that, So he had that in mind for all his life, and he kind of like put it into into the movies he made later on, right? Later on. So at that time, actually, what that was one of the good things for him to move to Kansas, not for being working as in the delivery newspaper thing, but because he was actually he got the opportunity to study art by itself, you know. So he went to study art in the in the Chicago in the Chicago Art Institute, right? When at the 1916, but he studied art, right? He studied art, and that kind of like create or a thing into his mind of being an artist, right? In 1916, he had 15 years. 1916, age of 15 years, he started to to create comics for a newspaper, for a newspaper which is called the Village Boys, the Village Boys. And by doing that, he got the opportunity of kind of like do comics, right? And cartoons, not cartoons, but it was kind of like comic strips, right? Strips in which he talked about what the life at that time was, right? If you remember, at the 1918, in 1917, the war started, right? So he started to draw, right, cartoons and what like comic strips, right? Comics about war, right? The first war. So by doing that, he had the opportunity of of flight into Europe, and to he goes to the first war, right? He goes to first war. He goes to Europe and work as an ambulance. It was in the 19, I think 1919. Work as an ambulance driver, right? In Europe, Yeah, Europe, right? He, and he worked in that thing. Now, if you remember, uh, by that time, the war was pretty much at the end. So he actually went to Europe to work as in an ambulance as an ambulance driver, but he wasn't that, he wasn't in front of the lines, right, like fighting. So that made him kind of like he got kind of like upset of that, kind of like bored to him. So he asked for to be down from the army and go back to United States. But while waiting for that, he actually uh, he drew like comics into the ambulance, right? So we're gonna look for, let me see, Disney, right? So he in the ambulance, he started to draw things in the ambulance, right? Now we're gonna see, like little comics like that, you know, and drawing things in the ambulance because he didn't have that much. Now he knew how to drive because of his dad in the delivery business. Remember, so that's pretty much what he did in Europe, right? You can see a little bit the drawings, the ambulance and things like that. But he didn't feel that good, so he asked for for down, getting down from the army, and he went back to the United States. um he goes back and goes back, right, from the army. And a little bit later that year, so as soon as he goes back, thanks to his brother Roy, right, Roy, thanks to Roy, he started to work in an art studio, right? Um which is in Kansas, right? Which is that actually was one of the biggest things in his life, because he he met one of the genius in animation called UV Ewers. So he goes to in the same year he starts to work in Kansas. Yep, Kansas. He started to work in an art studio called Ruban or Rubin Art Studio, right? And he meets UV Ewers, which is later on they shorted into UV Ewers, so with just one W, right? Kind of like got shorted his name, UV Ewers, right? So he started to work with UV Ewers, who was a young guy too, uh, who knew how to draw, and they become friends, right? In that Kansas art studio, they made mostly just publicity, right, for filmmaking and magazines and newspaper, right? So they started to draw just for publicity, right? Remember, but that time, just like pretty much the things that people the first media was newspapers and magazines and things like that, not even filmmaking, right? No, not even the movies. Now the main media is television, right? Which is mutating into something else, streaming and things like that. But that's another thing, that's another story. Um, so a year later, they decide. that they had to open their own business, right? So in 1920, Eworks and Disney opened up a new studio, right, called Eworks and Disney Commercial Artists, right? Art, but but it didn't. Well, they were too young at that time, I guess. They were not even. They were like 17 or maybe no, maybe 19 years old, right? So they didn't know much of managing a business. So it wasn't that successful. And but even if they got some recognition around, right? They had some recognition around artist. So they decided to close it down because it was cheaper to work for somebody else who can pay them than managing a business and they being the ones that pay somebody else, right? So they decide, no, let's work for somebody who pay us and not we paying people and not earning that much money. So as soon as they went out from their own company, they decide to work, and they got hired uh, by the company called the Kansas Film ad of advertisement, publicity advertisement. Okay, film ad. So in that film ad, um, they actually got something cool that actually changed their lives, and it was that they started to learn some of the primitive techniques of animation, right? So they learn technique, learn primitive animation in wishes that change their lives forever, right? Just learning the animation, how they use it, and also they started to learn how the animation was done by Blackton. Remember, James Stewart Blackton. James Stewart Blackton. So they started to learn how they create the animation and how Blackton did the animations, and they start to learn from it. So Disney and Eworks, they start to kind of like research around animation. They actually went to the library and started to learn about anatomy and mechanics, the human body. And they actually checked some of the books uh, written by Edward Muybridge. Remember Edward Muybridge, the one that did the horse, the horse riding, the horse kind of like jumping on the four legs on the air that we learned in the first class. Um, so they kind of like got that, and also they asked the owner of the Kansas Film Lab to lend them uh, some of the cameras that he had for animation to to experiment with it. and research with it. So they start to do, a little quick research and a little experiments with animations for that. Actually, they got to do some animations that was shown on the theaters, um, uh, with a little, a little quick animations of titles and things like that. So they kind of like got into it. They really got into it. A little bit later, uh, just Disney, with his thing of doing business, since he got that from his family, uh, he went into do his own family, his own business called Lafogram Films, right? So in 1922, founded founded the Lafogram Films, Lafogram Films, right? Which is, it was about that, doing animations and experimenting with filmmaking, right? Lafogram Films. So with that Lafogram Films, he created his first animation series, was called Alice Wonderland, right? Alice Wonderland was the first series, right? Which is he made with one of the stars that he met in the Kansas Film ad. Was a little kid, a little young kid, called, and they call it Alice. And that little young kid was kind of like an artist for some of the commercials that they made in Kansas Film ad. So he got that young artist, yeah, that kid artist, and they brought it into the Love for Grand Films, uh, Disney at least. Disney, let's put Disney right here. Disney founded, yeah, and he creates that series with her. So we're gonna watch a little bit of of Alice Wonderland uh, in YouTube. Okay, we're gonna watch just a little bit, not all of it, because it's long, but it was kind of like that. Let me see if maybe here, this one. You can hear. Sorry, can you hear the sound? No, I forgot to let me re let me put the screen back again, but with sound. So there you go. Now, guys, are you? Can you see my screen, guys? Guys,
No,
no, right now.
no, no, yet. Es que sí, antes no, pero ahora sí.
What is? Okay, now yes, and the sound and the music.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Okay, so we're gonna watch a little bit of Alice Wonderland. Pretty much the it's about Alice, which is the young actress that I'm telling you. Now we can. Oh, this the I'm sorry. These slates are really important. Why? Because they tell you everything about the movie you're gonna watch. The first thing says, hold on, it says Lafogram Films, right? It's Alice Wonderland, Alice's Wonderland. Since that time, um, this guy Walt Disney had the thing of with Alice, with the the Alice from the Alice Wonderland story, right? Like a young kid that goes into a fantastic thing, right? So he got that the book. He actually, when he was a young kid, he went into an art gallery, and in that art gallery they were showing some of the drawings of Alice Wonderland, or they have this showing of the story, and he got kind of like amazed with that story, and being amazed, he also got so much into the story of Alice that he recreated a bunch of times through his career, through his life. He made it in live action. He made it in an early time with Laugh-O-Gram Films. The first series he made was Alice Wonderland. Also, he did it into a movie that we all know, right? And also later on, he made a movie with live action characters, and he actually got it all always with that story. It's kind of weird, but okay. So he says that it's produced by Laugh-O-Gram Films, right? And it's pretty much the opposite of what the other early pioneers of animation, the early animators, did. What was the opposite? It was pretty much the they tried to compose the their the real life, right, with putting animation into it. This is the backwards, putting real life into the animation, no animation into real life. So that was kind of like a breakthrough, and that's why actually got really they really liked it a lot, right? So we're gonna watch a little bit, just a little bit. Here it says what happens, right? The scenario, which is the background, and the direction is Walt Disney, right? But it is actually photographed, or is actually captured by UV Ewerts and Rural Eisen, which is they later work for Disney when the company got so big, right? And Hugh Harman too, and Carmen Maxwell too. They're like the first pioneers of animations for Disney, right? One of the golden era pioneers. Actually, they were part of Frank, as well as Frank Thomas and Ollie Johnson, of the seven masters of animation in Disney, right? Okay, so let's see. Virginia Davis was the little kid, right? It's taking a little bit. And this is Walt Disney. Okay, I'm gonna pause a little bit. This is not the music from the film. They put it later when they, I don't know, like recently, right? They put the music and the knocking and things like that. But it was a silent movie, of course, right? It was a silent movie. Remember the time, 1923, silent movie. It's Walt Disney, young Walt Disney. So yeah, what he does is he shows him how the drawings come alive, you know, which is kind of like what everybody was kind of like trying to do about that time, right? It's not uncommon. Remember that all the early animators they tried to do that, right? Like putting the animation into a real life capturing, right? Let's see a little bit more. The cat's dancing, but the interesting part here is not this, right? The interesting part is comes a little bit later, right? Now this is all hand drawing, right? And cartoon. This is not strange to that time because they had cartoons. Remember the Felix the Cat that we watched some weeks ago, and things like that, like Growing Up Father too. I'm sorry. I forgot the name of it. Matt and Jeff animations. So this is not strange. The strange thing comes later, which was a breakthrough, and everybody like, oh my God, that's crazy. They put the kid into the animation, right? They put the kid into the animation. Maybe this is a set, right? But later on, she goes into the cartoon, which was really strange. So they grade Alice, and she's like grading them back, and waiting what happened. There you go. Now she on the opposite idea. She's in the cartoon, not the cartoon in the real life picture. So that was crazy. So, but that time was a breakthrough. It was really, really interesting. Also, to convey that idea, he went into different techniques, different animation techniques, right? Okay, they put her right there, like through composing the story, composing the video. There you go. I'm gonna go a little bit further. Okay, she's dancing right there, and whatever. Okay, so the lion. I'm gonna show you just the last part. And I want you to put close attention into this part. It's taking a little bit. Okay. Okay. So now, if you put close attention, how do you think they made the Alice running away from the lions? Anybody? How do you think, or what did they do for creating that effect of her running? At least nobody, nobody. Or was kind of like normal. She was running by herself. Somebody, please. Nobody, guys. Mariana.
Hey, I'm
I
sorry.
get it.
I didn't really notice. Could you repeat it, please?
Okay, I'm gonna repeat it. Yeah, I'm gonna put it back a little bit right there. Come on, right there. Now, right there, she's normal, right? So,
Yeah.
what do you think, Mariana? No, what do you?
From from when she was running?
Yeah, where from she was running. Just a little,
Well,
the little piece.
at some point, I mean, I don't know if I was seeing correctly, but it looks like she was doubled, like I was seeing double or something like that. I'm not sure.
Okay, yeah, maybe could be, could be. Actually, yeah, I just up to today, I noticed that. I noticed that she kind of like a little doubling image, but I think it
Yeah.
was more for the media, because they shot it in a different thing and they kind of like compose it over, the animation. Maybe it's that. But
Um,
yeah, that's a good approach, Mariana. That's cool. I like it. Uh, Actually, what they did, they made a pixelation right here, right? They made a pixelation right there. She's
oh, yeah.
right. They shot like frame by frame of a walk of a
Yeah.
running cycle, and they just put it back, and then put it over the animation of the lions running, right? So I seen it interesting. They did pixelation to convey the idea. I don't know if anybody else has noticed that, right? A pixelation. So it's pretty cool. So that's how Walt Disney started, right? Of creating some series. That was the first series he made, right? Walt Disney, Alice Wonderland in 1923. 1923 actually was 1922 up to 1923, where it ended. So he went into bankruptcy, right? So he went into bankruptcy, and and thanks to that, he had to like flee the place, and he like closed down the La Fogram Films company. So let me put this back. Hold it. So as soon as he went into bankruptcy, he he had to go and find a way into maybe do something else, right? But his brother Roy encouraged him to open up a company again. But this time he says, "Okay, we have to find a place where we can lower down the taxes, right? And not being that expensive to create animations." So in 1923, right, he goes to bankruptcy, I think it's called is written that bankrupt bankrupt. Okay, I think let me check later on if that's how you write it. Bankrupt. Sorry, forgetting my yeah, bankruptcy. Bankrupt bank. Ah, with a bankruptcy. All right. Sorry about that. Bankruptcy. Okay. So he went into bankruptcy and he moved with Roy to Hollywood, to Hollywood, right? California. Come on. What happened? Hollywood. In California. To trying to escape from this expensive way of filmmaking at that time in other places. Now Hollywood is kind of was actually just starting to be the main place for filmmaking, and it was starting because before that it was New York, it was actually Chicago, and Kansas too, and places like that, like a bigger cities. So um, for just starting, you know, filmmaking industry in Hollywood, he went into the right time, right? Because pretty much everything was kind of like cheaper at that time, at that moment. So he went into to Hollywood in past, okay, right to Hollywood, and he creates a new um, company with Roy. So remember that Roy was kind of like the oldest brother, not the oldest of all, but his older brother, right? Like the second younger, youngest one, right? He's like right there. So he had like a close relation with Roy since an early age, and by doing that, they actually could manage to create a big industry. So that why Roy is important, right? Because Roy, he during a big part of his life, he actually was the one that managed the Disney company, but while Walt Disney, he was kind of like the creative and he was consulting, right? uh, but Roy was the financing part of the company. um, so as soon as they went there, they uh, they start again with a new series of Alice Wonderland, right? New series of Alice, and thanks to that, so he got a little bit more recognition, a little bit of more money, and in 1924, right, uh, the company kind of like grew, and they had to kind of like company grew, and they had to like make a short once a month, right? Which is but that time was a lot, for doing a short, a thing of 10 minutes, 15 minutes a month. That's a lot. That's a lot. So he had to rehire some of his old colleagues of the Kansas industry, and he brought them into LA to work for him, right? In which is again he brought his pal, his friend, his buddy, UB Ewerts, right? So in 1925, uh, he had a new contract with one of the companies that bought his products and show them on the theaters, and he had to make a movie once a week, once every 3 weeks. Sorry, 3 weeks, which is it was even insaner, right? Was he actually was really insane by the time. So he had to like regrow again, right? And built or bought the property, uh, which is the biggest was the biggest property right by that time, and it was kind of weird that somebody bought it, and is the famous property where the animation studios are right now, which is in the Hyperion Avenue in Avenue in no, it's not in Hollywood, but it's in Burbank, California. In that place, sorry, this is with an A, with an O, Avenue, which is now is the mecca where all the studios, the big studios are, right? This is where the big studios are. Right across the street in the Hyperion Avenue, right here, and but lot. Okay. There is a lot, and it's the Warner Brothers lot. And a little bit further, you can find Nickelodeon, and a little like right there in that strip, in that avenue. So this avenue is really important for the filmmaking industry because that's where we find the main studios, Warner Brothers, um, Paramount, and Disney, right? And he started to build, you know, a new building, right? A big building and a big lot in the a big, offices where he can find and he can actually get to do every 3 weeks one short. So he had to like regrow as himself. Now remember, they are they were more of company guys than actually like art guys. Of course, Disney, Walt Disney, he had his the art in his life, right? But they also think of being an industry, being making money, right? So in 1926, 26, a new building. They had a new building, and that make him by that time like the biggest animation company, right? So thanks to that, he got like the biggest, like the biggest things, and he started to work in a new in 1927 in a new product, in a new series called Oswald the Lucky Rabbit, right? Lucky Rabbit. Now we're gonna watch a little clip Oswald the Lucky Rabbit, and I'm gonna tell you something about it, which is interesting. And that's it. Here is the Oswald the Lucky Rabbit. I'm sorry. Let me see. Oswald the Lucky Rabbit. Let's see which one. 19. Oh no, 30. No, 1927. There you go. Let's watch this one. Okay. Now we're gonna watch this a little bit. So at that time, Walt Disney had his company, but uh, he was financed, or he was the product he made was kind of like finance, or like kind of like bought by a company called a Winkler Production, right? And and shown in the theaters by Universal, right? Universal. Uh, Oswald the Lucky Rabbit then became the first character that he made of of just an animal, right? So Oswald the Lucky Rabbit was kind of like the first animal he created, and he had a series with it. Now they went away from creating characters just to interact with somebody in the real life, but most of doing a series of the character just being animated in their own world, right? So by doing that, he kind of like created one of the first animation, one of the first series with with an animal, right? With a character animal. Now we're gonna watch then a little bit of Oswald the Lucky Rabbit. So pretty much that's the character, just a bunny, a rabbit, and his adventures, which is again got kind of like cool by the time everybody kind of like started to recognize the Oswald, and people started to ask for more of the series of Oswald the Lucky Rabbit, right? There you go. So that was it. I'll encourage you to watch some of the Oswald the Lucky Rabbit. One of my favorite ones is called Scrapers. I don't know why didn't I show you that one, because I saw it right here, Skyscrapers, which is cool. I like it a lot. So there you go with Oswald the Lucky Rabbit. Now, what happened with Oswald the Lucky Rabbit? As soon as he got a little bit of famous on being a little bit of recognition, having a little bit of recognition, in 1928, after 26 movies, right? Oswald got uh, stalled, right? Got lost, I'm sorry, movies. Disney loses, yeah, loses Oswald to the Winkler Pictures, right? Which is it was the one that it was buying the animation from him. So they loses their rights, loses the rights, right? Which is that became rights, which is that became one of the biggest fightings later on in film industry for Disney, trying to regain that character out of just sentimental things, you know.
But
So
but I'm sorry, I have a question.
yes, 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 Mariana.
But no, yeah, but like, why did they lost the rights? Like,
They
did these people in Wrinkler Pictures had like a similar character or
no,
something like that?
no, no. Now remember, that's a good question actually. Remember, let me see if we can find it. There you go. Remember that Walt
Oh,
Disney, he made the animations,
oh, they.
and they
I mean, no, they were from the Wrinkler production, but by Walt Disney. Yeah, I'm
by
sorry, I
Walt
didn't
Disney.
catch that.
So a Winkler Productions, that's a good question, Mariana. Yes, Winkler Production, what they did, they bought, the animations from Walt Disney. They bought them, right?
Um,
And
yeah,
they,
yeah.
as soon as they bought them, they went into the Universal, and Universal showed them in the theaters, right? They were
Mhm.
the ones that put it in the theaters by itself. But Winker Production, they bought the contents from different animations studios and commercialized them, right?
Oh, okay.
Okay, so
Yeah.
what they did was Walt Disney, or the Disney company, they didn't put Oswald the character on the rights, right? They didn't put him on like uh, kind of like put it on the government and go and say, okay, this character is our character. So what Winkler Pictures, they went and they registered that characters as their own, not as Walt Disney,
Yeah.
but as the Winkler production. So they lost the rights of Oswald the Lucky Rabbit. As soon as they lost them,
Okay.
why they did that? Because they went into the they went into Walt Disney and they said, okay, wait, now Oswald the Lucky Rabbit is our character. We have the rights. You don't have the rights, so we're gonna pay you less to make Oswald the Lucky Rabbit. Now we're gonna and I need you to do the character like this and that. So they kind of like lost that. So what Walt Disney said, like, okay, I lose the character, so you draw it, right? I don't care, you draw it. So what happened at that time? It was like nobody else could draw and do the animation of Oswald the Lucky Rabbit. So not even Walt Disney. So Walt Disney said, okay, so I lose this character. Now I have to become create a new character. So what happened with with this thing is what happened with this thing is like they forgot about Oswald the Lucky Rabbit, and like that fighting against Productions, and they said, okay, wait, now we have to be the ones that distribute our own material, not through a company like Winker Production, right? Now we have to make them the animations and then sell them into we directly to Universal, not through Winker Productions or to other company like that. So we don't lose this. And from this moment on, we're gonna uh, have the rights of our own things, our own materials, and as soon as we create a character, we're gonna register our own, and we're gonna do and be the boss of that material, and also of all the creations we make, even if it's development of uh, of how do you call this thing, of cameras, or I don't know, different technologies that we create, right? So we're gonna register our own. So this thing of Oswald the Lucky Rabbit never happens again, right? A trivia fact of Oswald the Lucky Rabbit, that they have a dispute between Universal Studios, because actually Universal bought Winker Productions later on, right? They bought them, and they bought, of course, everything that Winker Production had, which was always Oswald the Lucky Rabbit and some other products, right? So Universal bought that company. He got the rights then from a Winker Production company, and Disney got into a fight with Universal for so many years, for like 20 years, 30 years even. And after a long dispute, they end up Disney regaining the rights of Oswald, but it was like up to the 80s or something like that, 90s actually. So, but of course, yeah, was kind of like a part of, like taking that down of their history, like of losing Oswald. So they regained that, not to use them in animations. Actually, they use them some here and there, but not that many times, right? But they use it in some things, like I think in the 90s, early in the early 20 something, beginning this the like 10 years ago maybe, or something like that. They create this video game with all the characters, all the Disney characters. So they put the Oswald the Lucky Rabbit in there, right? And um, and they use them here and there, in some little tiny animations, in some parts, like close parts. But he's not one of the main characters, because he lost interest for so many years, right? Now the main characters are, of course, Goofy, and of course Mickey Mouse, and Pluto, and Donald Duck, and things like that. Now, those are the main characters because they got more recognition, right? So that's what happens with Oswald the Lucky Rabbit. They regained the rights of Oswald the Lucky Rabbit just not long ago, like maybe like 20 years ago, something like that. So that's it. It was a long dispute, legal dispute of having that back. Okay,
Oh,
right?
okay.
It's
Thank
it.
you.
It's
Yeah.
interesting, right, Mariana?
Yeah. What happened to Winkler Productions? I mean, we all know what happened with the whole Disney company, but are they still like around or something?
Winker, well, again, what happened with Winker Productions? I believe Universal Studios or Universal bought that company, Winker Productions, and kind of like absorb it, right?
Oh,
Kind of like, oh,
okay, okay.
destroy it, and I bought it, and that's it. No more Winker Productions, right? They bought it like some years later on Universal.
Okay, okay.
All right, I think Universal was. All right, so there you go. And also, that's what happened with that. Well, as soon as they lost Oswald the Lucky Rabbit, they had to like restart again with a new saga, with a new character. So they start to draw and things like that, and recreate a new character. They have to do it quick, otherwise they went into bankruptcy again. Because if they didn't make any more movies and any more new things, uh, they could have gone into bankruptcy. They have bills to pay and things like that. So the story says like this: once was Walt Disney with his friend um, Ubi Iwerks. They were in. They were going from California to New York or something like that, right? By train. And in the train, they were talking, and the wives were talking, their own wives, they were talking, and they were like having fun right there. And they were like kind of worried, like what kind of characters would they do? So some the wives, they start to talk, and why don't you guys do an animal again, right? Because it seemed that worked before. So just do a new character as an animal. They start to talk, and 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 the wife said, "Why don't you do a mouse, a little mouse?" And Walt Disney, like, okay, I got it. I'm gonna draw the mouse. He drew some other mouse that looked like a rat, like really bad. Like the drawing was kind of off. They didn't like it. And like, no, come on, that animal looks awful, right? Looks bad. And Ubi works said like, no, I got it. I'm gonna draw a cute mouse, and we're gonna use it. So actually, Mickey Mouse was created by UB Iwerks, not by Walt Disney, right? That's the story. That's the story. So uh, as soon as they did that in the 1928, let me write it down right here. They create Mickey Mouse, right? Right? Mickey Mouse. And they made the first animation with Mickey Mouse, which is called Playing Crazy, right? Which is awesome. It's an awesome animation. Why? Because the animation is so well done, is so smooth that actually got really the people really liked it. And also they went further with that, with Play Crazy. And they said like, okay, wait, why don't we try this new technology that is coming out with movies, which is the the sound recording in the movies, right? So by that time, like around this time, we had the first movie in sound called what? Does anybody remember what the first sound movie is called? Guys, anybody? The first sound movie in the history of filmmaking of movies.
The jazz singer
The Jazz
or
Singer. Yes, Mariana. Yes, the jazz singer, right? So
What?
at that, yeah, yeah, in the 1928 or 27, I forgot. Um, the jazz singer. So they took that, that technology, and they put it in the first sound movie called Plain Crazy by the new character created Mickey Mouse, right? So we're gonna watch Plain Crazy. In the recording, if I see that they're gonna take that uh, the thing down because of the sound, right? I'll leave it in blank. But for the sake of the this streaming or this class, I'm gonna put it with sound, right? So let's see, Plain Crazy of Mickey Mouse. Plain Crazy, me, Plain Crazy. What happened? Oh, there you go. Let's see. Okay, wait. I wanna find a better one. Plain Crazy, Mickey Mouse. If we can, this one seems to be better. 1928, Mickey Mouse Plain Crazy. Okay, this it looks better, Alex. Actually, so what happened to with this movie? This is the first recorded sound movie, animation sound movie, created by UV Ewers. Remember, these slates are really important. Now, by that time, the company was called Disney Cartoons, right? And as you see, they're their own, right? They created the company. Sorry, the company was called Walt Disney Comic, right? And Disney Cartoons, and they kind of like distribute their own movies. So the thing with Oswald the Lucky Rabbit never happened again. Now you see, the director and the animator is UV Ewers. Now, but this time they shorted it down because it was with two W's and with two B's, as you remember. Now it's recorded by the technology called by that time Cinephone system, right? That later on was changed, was started to change little by little, right? So we're gonna watch Mickey Mouse sound cartoon Playing Crazy. There you go. So it's Plain Crazy, the first animation with the character, the Mickey Mouse, and with in sound, right? But that same year, later in that year, they made the second animation with Mickey Mouse, which is the iconic animation that everybody knows and everybody has watched, uh, called Steamboat Willie, right? We're gonna watch just a little tiny bit because otherwise it's gonna take us too long. Oh, sorry. Let's check it through. I don't wanna. Okay, let's see if this one maybe. Right? Okay. Again, UV works, Cinephone, and the same, right? UV works, the Walt Disney comic, Disney cartoons, and Mickey Mouse sound cartoon, right? The same thing with the character. I like this character better than the one we know now, right? And we this one actually may is so important that actually through this technology that he used, he got the company got like really big in that era, and we can include from this time on, um, being the golden era of animation since this moment on. That's why the animation studios, the Disney animation studios, has the symbol of part of the movie is the symbol or the intro of the company, right? Which is everybody knows. Let me write it down right here. Plain Crazy, and then Steam Boat Wheelie, right? November, November, right? Steamboat Willie. All of them sound cartoons, right? So it created in sound. This is important, right? The sound cartoons. All right. So let's watch just a little bit of Steamboat Willie, and I'll tell you some other trivia about this movie. as you can see, is part of the intro. So it's that important for the company, right? This this animation, this short. There you go. This short is so important for the company that they included into the intro, in the animation intro. Okay. Um, there you go. So now, since got that importance in life, that this new character, and it got a lot of recognition, and also they experimented with the sound cartoon, right? The sound media. They they said, okay, wait, what we have to do is to make a new series and use the um, use the sound as the media, as the first thing in the animation. The sound being the important thing. So they create this new series, which is the sound was the protagonist, right? In 1929, called Silly Symphonies, right? Silly, for Silly Symphonies, right? Which is the sound was the main character, right? Actually, it wasn't a character by itself. Like there was different animations, but the sound was the important. And that Silly Symphonies actually transcend for so many years that for so many years that actually it lasted like about 20 years, maybe that Silly Symphony series, right? So we're gonna watch the first Silly Symphony, was called Skeleton Dance, right? Skeleton Dance, which was drawn and animated and everything by Eworks, by Eworks, right? Was drawn, animated, and everything by Eworks in between 1928 and 1929, right? Skeleton Dance. Let's see, Skeleton Dance. Acá. There you go. There you go. Right there. Disney Cartoon presents Silly Symphonies, a Skeleton Dance, Walt Disney comic, drawn by Eworks. Well, the music was by Stalin, Carl Stalin. Cinephone again, and that's it. So now you see the thing. Like Eworks actually was kind of like really important for the creation of the Disney company, right? It was kind of like the genius behind the curtain. So I encourage you again to watch this movie later in your house. It's really close. It's really short. It's 5 minutes, but it's really interesting. This animation, the silly symphonies animation actually was created, and through this series, um, the Disney company actually got a lot of uh, kind of like a new technologies, and he created or he rebuilt or reused new technologies that actually help the filmmaking industry um, and the animation is industry to kind of like develop itself, like kind of like got into a new era, right? So through this series, the Silly Symphony series, there is tons of shorts in this Silly Symphony series. Uh, but we're gonna leave it like to that. Next class, we're gonna finish with the history of Disney to up to when they made their um, first full feature movie, and that's it. All right. So we're gonna do it later, like next class, and that's it. Does anybody has a question up to this, or something didn't understand, or something like that, or everybody's okay? Nobody? Everybody cool?
No, I think everything it's okay.
It's okay. It's interesting, right? The history of Disney, and it's shortened. I try to make it short because it's long. It has some other histories and some other problems at the beginning that actually Roy and Walt had to build the company. How they bought it, the new studio, right, in Burbank, and things like that. That's interesting. But I try to keep it short. Well, now, while we change into the into the exercise we're gonna do today, I'd want you to write. While you prepare the thing, I want you to download the rotoscope animation pre-production, answer it, and send it back to me today, please. Today, through the chat, right? Through the chat, so I can download it and do some writings about it, right? Please do that, right? So download this text, download it, and and uh, and uh, and put it. All right. While you download it, I'm gonna change into Spanish, and um, I'm gonna show you what we're gonna do today in the last minutes we have, an hour we have left. All right. Everybody cool? No?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Do it. So just download this thing, everybody, and I'll let you know how to write it, how to type it, what I'm looking in this text, right? So let me change this right here. Bueno, chicos, ya, entonces vamos a cambiar a nuestra, vamos a hacer primera aproximación de la animación. Y lo que vamos a hacer el día de hoy es una rotoscopia. ¿Qué es una rotoscopia? ¿Quién se le puede ocurrir? Por favor, necesito que hablen, ya que estamos en español. Chicos, ¿ninguno? Sara, Juan, Santiago. La única que ha participado es Mariana. Entonces, Mariana, puntos positivos y repositivos. Una especie de máscara que sigue una silueta. Una máscara que sigue una silueta. Ok, bueno, muy bien. ¿Quién más dice por ahí algo? Felipe. ¿Ninguno?
Yo como que la referencia que tengo de la técnica es una película que se llama Scanner Darkly.
Scanner Darkly, sí. Ok.
Estoy mal en esa, utilizan la técnica, entonces pues sí, lo que, pues en palabras de lo que dice Borja, como una especie de máscara que sí, una silueta, sí, ahí era esa, Scanner
Es,
Darkly, esa, pues,
Scanner Darkly.
sí.
Eso, muy bien.
Como la silueta de la, pues, sí, de la imagen que se, que se tenga.
Ok. Sí, tienes razón. Sí, Scanner Darkly es una rotoscopia digital. Y ya. Lo que nosotros vamos a hacer, vamos a ver acá que dice rotoscopia. Lo que vamos a hacer es que vamos a rotoscopiar vamos a calcar un movimiento de un personaje. ¿Listo? ¿El personaje quiénes va a ser? Ustedes mismos. ¿Listo? Bailecito. Bueno, nada, no, obviamente no vamos a hacer esto porque no creo que sepa, o yo no sé por lo menos, cómo montar y hacer un backflip con una patineta. ¿Listo? Entonces, van a, lo que van a hacer es lo siguiente. Lo primero es que van a grabarse haciendo alguna actividad que ustedes quieran. Si saben montar, no, pero algo que puedan hacer en la casa, ¿listo? Que se vea ojalá de cuerpo completo, ¿listo? De cuerpo completo. Que o sea que se vea de cabeza a pies y cabeza, ¿listo? No se van a demorar más de 5 minutos grabando eso. O sea, no se vayan a tomar la hora en la grabación. ¿Listo? Entonces van a grabarse a ustedes mismos, cogen la cámara, van ahí en el cuarto, en la sala, donde puedan distanciar la cámara y se van a grabar haciendo alguna cosa. Un bailecito, como dice Sara, si quieren hacer algún truco de patinaje, bueno, ustedes verán, eh, no, abriendo una sombrilla, cerrándola, eh, van a hacer diferentes movimientos, ¿listo? Pero siempre utilizando algo de utilería. Utilería en inglés es prop, ¿cierto? Yo estaba pensando en un bailecito, jajaja, una carranga. Bueno, listo. Pero entonces la carranga de pronto con un sombrero, ¿sí? Y ese sería el prop. Y que se quite, haga la venia, vuelve y se ponga el sombrero y baile ahí. El municipio esa boya. ¿Listo? Entonces baila y mueve, digamos, con el sombrero y hace la cuestión. ¿Listo? Entonces, está muy bien, muy bonito, chévere. Ojalá cosas colombianas buenísimas. ¿Sí? La carranga, genial, me parece genial. Entonces, van a grabarse haciendo un movimiento, por ejemplo, este movimiento de este tipo, ¿sí? Que se mueve y hace eso. ¿Listo? Eso, diferentes movimientos, haciendo diferentes cosas. Eso, puede estar patinando, puede estar moviéndose, bailando carranga, dando botes, haciendo monerías, lo que ustedes quieran. ¿Listo? Hagan diferentes movimientos, hagan diferentes cosas, no solo un solo movimiento. Grábense por ahí unos 10 segundos con el celular o con si tienen cámara de video o con lo que lo quieran grabarse, ustedes mismos haciendo alguna monería. ¿Y qué vamos a hacer? Después ustedes vamos a pasar eso, van a escoger un pedacito, ¿listo? Van a escoger un pedacito, por ejemplo, del movimiento. A mí me gusta, vamos a ver, me voy a volver un poquito. Me gusta esto cuando él llega y hace esto, tran, y voltea. Y ahí, tren. Eso, ese pedacito. Entonces, cuando voltea, no, esto no, no, ahí. Entonces, desde acá, me gustó ese pedacito hasta ahí. ¿Listo? Hasta ahí. Entonces, van a escoger un pedacito de todo lo que ustedes se grabaron. De los 10 segundos que se grababan, van a coger un pedacito. Y ese pedacito lo vamos a sacarle los keyframes y los vamos a poner en nuestra calcada. Vamos a calcar los keyframes que representarían ese movimiento de aquí a acá, ¿cierto? De aquí, de aquí a acá, ¿listo? Ahí. Entonces de ese a este. Entonces todo el movimiento, todo este movimiento, lo vamos a representar con keyframes. ¿Listo? Y vamos a sacar los 12 keyframes que me representen ese movimiento. Entonces, al hacerlo así, y los vamos a calcar. ¿Cómo vamos a calcarlo? No quiero calcar una cosa así. ¿Listo? Ni mucho menos así, sino más bien más organizadito, perdónenme. Más así. ¿Listo? Más como está esto. Ahí, así, que se vea bien el cuerpo, que sean unas rayas fuertes y ya. Mire, el prop de este personaje o la utilería prop o utilería es la patineta. ¿Listo? Entonces, lo que va a hacer el personaje es, ¿cómo lo van a calcar? Cogen el video, lo guardan, lo bajan al computador como un tiro y escogen el pedacito que necesitan, ponen el pivote, al fin construyeron los pivotes. Díganme, chicos, chicos, chicuelos, ninguno, ninguno, están muy callados ustedes. ¿Se fueron?
No, profe.
Bueno, bueno, Mariana es la única que está, bueno, y a veces por ahí Sara y Santiago. Bueno, y Juan también ahí de vez en cuando. Pero necesito que participen más. Entonces, ¿y no hicieron el pivote? ¿No lo construyeron? Mariana, ¿lo construiste?
No, no, señor. Y de hecho, profe,
¿Qué?
hice el pedido de mis materiales y pues, todavía no me ha llegado, entonces estoy aquí prestando atención a la explicación de hoy.
Bueno,
Pues no tengo los
entonces,
materiales todavía.
pero puedes irte grabando, ¿cierto?
Ah, sí, pues eso sí.
Eso, entonces vas a grabarte y van a llenar esto y van a, bueno, y van a llenar este documento. ¿Listo? Este documento sí me lo van a entregar hoy mismo. ¿Listo? Hoy
Profe, una
mismo.
pregunta. ¿El gramaje de la... ¿Gramaje se dice? Creo que sí, bueno, no sé.
¿Sí?
Del acetato no importaba, ¿cierto?
No, no importa. No, no importa. No
Al fin
importa.
sí lo vamos a poder cortar
Sí,
o...
si quieren lo pueden cortar por la mitad. Sí, señor. ¿Listo? Entonces, digamos, este lado, ya les expliquemos la vez pasada. ¿Sí? Cogen la hoja, la cortan por la mitad y utilizan las dos mitades para llegar a los 12. ¿Listo? Entonces, en ese caso tendrían que haber comprado mínimo 6 acetatos, ¿cierto? Que al cortarlos por la mitad quedan en 12. ¿De acuerdo? ¿Sí?
Una pregunta, qué pena
Sí.
te hablar.
Tranquila, ¿estás
Eh,
ronca o qué?
un poquito,
Ah,
pero
qué
tengo
vale.
rinitis.
Ah, jue madre.
Por eso no he participado como mucho porque tengo como las manos muy
Bueno,
lloradas.
no te preocupes,
Dame una
Sarita.
pregunta. Es
Sí.
que yo tengo la tableta de dibujo. ¿Será que yo lo puedo hacer directamente en la tableta de dibujo? En la tableta.
¿Digitalmente dices?
Sí, señor.
Pues es que me gusta, no porque es que ustedes van, no, me gustaría que lo hicieran análogo, Sarita,
Ah,
sí.
bueno,
Hazlo
buena
análogo,
pregunta.
porque es que en próxima van a hacer uno digital y lo van a hacer en Boom y toda la cosa. Sí, entonces no, me gustaría que lo hicieran análogo para que tengan la experiencia de hacerlo análogo. Esta clase es muy análoga. ¿Listo?
Listo,
Sí.
listo.
Bueno, muy bien. Bueno, entonces, ¿qué van a llenar acá? Van a llenar este. y me lo van a devolver hoy. Entonces ponen su nombre, student name, el nombre de la rotoscopia. Entonces, eh, no sé, el hombre que patina. Animation date, el día de hoy. ¿Listo? El día que capturan o el día que van a hacer la animación. Hoy. Y acá entonces van a poner, what is the animation project about? Entonces dicen, no, es de un hombre que está patinando y hace unas piruetas con la patineta. ¿Listo? Eso lo escriben acá en inglés, ¿no? Ojo, acá, what kind of props I'm using for the clip? Entonces, una patineta, ¿sí? Un skateboard. ¿Listo? ¿Qué tipo de utilería, prop es utilería, estoy usando para este clip? Entonces estoy utilizando no sé, el sombrerito de la carranga. ¿Listo? O no sé qué es lo que vas a utilizar, Sarita. ¿Listo? Eso es.
No sé, profe, es que no tengo como muchos, eh, entonces, no sé, voy a
No,
pensarlo bien.
piénsala bien, pero entonces toca hacerlo hoy. Una pañoleta, no se compliquen con la cosa, ¿sí? Pueden grabarse, por ejemplo, con unos audífonos como si estuvieran escuchando música y bailando, eso no me importa. Y con los audífonos, ¿sí? Entonces se tocan los audífonos y se quitan el audífono y se lo ponen, alguna tontada así. Con una sombrilla, que la abren, la cierran, la corren para allá, apuntan para la derecha, para la izquierda, ¿sí? Hacen un bailecito, lo que ustedes quieran. ¿Listo? Con un bastón, con lo que hay es cosas ahí. Si quieren hasta con una calculadora y hacen como si estuvieran haciendo una suma y caminan de un lado para otro del cuadro, como si estuvieran haciendo una suma súper importantísima. Entonces, eso es lo que van a poner. ¿Qué prop, qué utilería van a utilizar? ¿Listo? Calculadora, la carranga, lo de la, no sé, lo de la patineta, lo que sea. ¿Listo? Entonces, ¿cuántos clips hice y cuál estoy utilizando? Entonces pueden decir, ahí no, pues hice un clip de 10 segundos y estoy utilizando la partecita en la que hace un backflip en la patineta. ¿Listo? O hice 10 segunditos de video y estoy utilizando la partecita en la que baja la sombrilla y la abre al piso. O en la que coge la raspa y raspa como si estuviera bailando carranga, lo que sea. ¿Listo? Entonces van a describir qué clip de todo lo que grabaron, cuál utilizar. ¿Y cuál es mi experiencia al hacer esto? Al empezar esta rotoscopia. Entonces, por ejemplo, pueden poner lo que Sarita dijo ahorita, de, no, es que no se me ocurre qué hacer. Entonces dice, no, no se me ocurría qué grabar, cómo hacerlo. No tenía un trípode, cómo sostener la cámara. No me llegaron los materiales a tiempo, entonces me tocó dejar para después no, el calco de los 12 keyframes, ¿sí? Pero eso lo escriben en inglés. Y me lo devuelven hoy mismo. Tienen media hora para hacer esto. ¿Listo? Entonces les recomiendo que por lo menos se grábense, no se vayan a grabar media hora. Grábense 10 segundos o 5 segundos, no necesitan más. ¿Listo? Y lo bajan al computador y le echan una mirada y dicen, no, este pedacito es el que voy a utilizar. ¿Listo? Y una vez lo tengan listo, llenan esto, perdón, y me lo devuelven. ¿Listo? Entonces, hágale a ver pues, hágale, no se compliquen, no, el ejercicio no es del que haga las monerías más chéveres, sino el que haga la rotoscopia con mayor atención. ¿Listo? Entonces, ¿entendieron todos? ¿Alguno tiene alguna duda o vamos bien? Chicuelos.
Sí, vamos bien, profe.
¿Qué se te olvidó, Juan?
No, no, no. Nada.
Ah, es que dice, no, profe, se me olvidó, no sé qué. Ah,
No,
hacer el
no, 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 ok,
pivote.
vamos bien.
Ah, el
Bien.
pivote, sí. No, venga, yo les recomiendo que hagan ese pivote porque el pivote les va a servir muchísimo para sostener las hojas para cuando vayan a hacer el calco, ¿no? Cuando vayan a calcar en la pantalla. Yo les voy a mostrar acá cómo voy a hacer yo el calco en la pantalla ahorita en los últimos 15 minutos. ¿Listo? Por el momento quiero que vayan todos como un tiro, se graben y hagan este documento. ¿Listo? Mientras yo voy por agüita. Bueno, porfis. Háganle a ver. Háganle a ver, Juan y Felipe y Mariana y Santiago. Bueno, ¿listo? Y Sara también. ¿Listo? Entonces voy a ir por agüita, vayan haciéndole, grábense y ya en 10 minuticos doy la instrucción de cómo vamos a hacer el cálculo de eso.
Profe, perdón,
Sí.
¿cuánto es que tiene que durar el video?
Tú grábate lo que quieras, pero pues no vayas a grabarte 15 minutos porque después va a ser difícil. Pero sí grábate un minuto ahí haciendo unas monerías. 10
Ok,
segundos, 30 segundos. Porque de todas maneras lo que vas a escoger es un pedacito nomás. Un pedacito de todas las
ok,
monerías, escoges es un pedacito nomás. ¿Vale?
ok.
Listo. Yo voy a, mientras tanto, voy a bajar acá. Descarguemos. La tercera pregunta, Sarita, vamos a ver, la tercera pregunta. How many clips did I make and which one I'm using? O sea, ¿cuántos clips hiciste para hacer o cuántas grabaciones te hiciste? Una, dos, tres, no sé. Entonces puedes poner, si hiciste una sola, te grabaste solamente una vez, ahí haciendo monerías, entonces te pones una de 10 segundos y estoy utilizando un pedacito de haciendo esto y ya. ¿Listo? ¿Listo? ¿Sí entendiste? Eso. Y la cuarta es How was my experience making? Entonces, cómo fue tu experiencia haciendo el principio de la rotoscopia? O sea, como la captura de esto, moviéndose. Dice, no, fue buena o mala, o no tenía cómo grabarme, o sí me grabé haciendo esto, o no sé. Bueno, ¿listo, chicos? Chicos. Bueno, entonces, ¿qué vamos a hacer? Por favor, presten atención un momentico ahí mientras terminan de hacer el documento, lo que sea. Entonces, van a escoger, digamos, yo hice mi grabación, bueno, esto no es grabación mía, pero es de otra persona, pero hice mi grabación y voy a escoger un movimiento. Entonces voy rápidamente por cuál movimiento quiero escoger, un pedacito nomás, un segundo de movimiento ya, listo. Puede pasarse más de un segundo, por ejemplo, esto, ahí, listo. Y digo que empieza ahí y termina por acá, listo. Ahí termina. Entonces va a hacerme todo este movimiento. Tran con los brazos abajo, tran arriba, hace como una movimientico ahí, tran, baja, uy, no muy largo, algo más corto. Voy a buscar algo más cortico. Vamos a ver qué pedacito me sirve. Listo. Digamos que tiene algo, ¿no? Porque también tiene que tener creo que no cogí el video que era, porque debería tener alguna cosa de utilería. Entonces, eh, voy a escoger ahí un pedacito. Listo. Entonces, de pronto por acá, este pedacito por acá. muy largo, no, no, algo muy corto. Entonces, cuando tiene las manos abajo, ¿m? Ahí, ¿listo? Entonces escojo de ahí y le digo que va, hace esto y vuelve y baja las manos, ¿listo? Entonces, ese es mi movimiento. Entonces, ¿ahora qué voy a hacer? Voy a escoger 12 cuadros. Chicos, ¿me están poniendo atención? Chicos,
Sí, señor.
eso, bueno. Entonces voy a escoger 12 cuadros que me representen ese movimiento. ¿Listo? Entonces, obviamente, dónde empieza y dónde termina. Entonces voy a escogerlo ahí, por ejemplo, este. Ahí lo cojo y le digo que les recomiendo de pronto que lo abran en QuickTime Player o sí, en QuickTime Player que me deja ir cuadro a cuadro. Es más, voy a cerrarlo. 1,54, listo. Lo voy a abrir con QuickTime Pleasure, que les va a dejar hacer cuadro a cuadro. ¿Listo? Ahí está. Lo que hacen es que en la pantalla llegan y lo ubican en donde les sirva. Por ejemplo, acá tren, por acá abajo iría el pivote. Yo lo puse contra la esquina del monitor y puse el pivote para poder calcar después sobre las hojas eh, mi, los diferentes cuadros principales. Entonces, bueno, ahí lo puse. ¿Listo? Entonces llego y agrando de pronto un poquito más porque estoy utilizando la hoja completa. Pues lo pongo ahí y ya. Entonces ahora escojo el pedazo que quiero. 1,54, ya sabía. ¿Listo? Y yo con el teclado, miren, en QuickTime puedo ir cuadro a cuadro. Tran, ahí. Entonces, ahí es mi cuadro. Listo. Entonces, ese es el que yo quiero, así va a empezar. Entonces, llego con mi lápiz y empiezo a calcar, ¿cierto? Empiezo a calcar todo el personaje. ¿Cómo lo calco? Pues como yo les había mostrado el de la patineta. Hago cosas importantes, por ejemplo, la chaqueta, eh, acá la mano, que no sea un mitón, sino que sea una mano, ¿listo? Acá la cara le hago nariz, boca, ojos, orejas, en la gorrita, acá también la chaqueta le hago como una que otra arruga para representar que hay volumen, pantalón y zapatos. ¿Listo? Una vez haya terminado de calcar ese, entonces determino cuál sería el que me mostraría el segundo movimiento, por ejemplo, del cuerpo para llegar al otro. Entonces digamos que como que levanta las manos. Entonces, ¿sí? ¿Qué hace esto? Así. Entonces ese yo debería representarlo con otro movimiento. Entonces voy por acá a la mitad, ahí, por ahí, ahí, calco, todo, calco solo el cuerpo, no el fondo, solo el cuerpo del personaje. ¿Ven? Ustedes se calcan a sí mismos y ese sería el segundo dibujo. Después, por ejemplo, con las manos arriba, sería el tercer dibujo. Entonces, cuando yo lo devuelva, va a ser esto. Tran, ¿listo? Tres, ahí vamos en tres. Son 12, ¿no? De pronto puedo ponerme intermedios entre este y este. Entonces, por ejemplo, las manos por acá más abajito, ahí sería uno, entonces sería otro dibujo y otro acá como por acá, están por ahí, sería otro dibujo y acá ya sería el otro, entonces ahí vamos como en cuatro dibujos ahí, ¿cierto? El que empezó, uno que puse por aquí más o menos, otro que puse por acá más o menos y otro acá con las manos arriba. Entonces ya van cuatro dibujos. Después, ¿qué hace el tipo? Esto es como casi que lo mismo. Entonces, casi que lo mismo. De pronto lo puedo hacer uno, si llega a doblarse para allá, para el lado izquierdo. Entonces acá llego y vuelvo y calco este. Esto es como lo mismo. De pronto calco el del otro lado. Si es que se mueve mucho. Mueve los brazos para adelante. Entonces calco este. cierra los brazos, mire, pone las manos abajo, vuelvo y calco esto, abre, ahí calco calco aquí y calco allá, ¿listo? Entonces mire que sí, 12 dibujos para determinar el movimiento de aquí a acá, ¿listo? Ahí empieza y acá termina, ¿listo? Eso va a ser mi movimiento. Entonces voy a calcar en 12 cuadros principales mi movimiento. Lo calco en hoja a lápiz primero, ¿listo? Otra vez el pivote les va a servir mucho. Pero si definitivamente no tuvieron forma de hacer el pivote o construir uno o lo que sea, entonces les recomiendo, cogen en la pantalla del computador, ponen el video en una esquinita, si lo bajan más o lo suben más, ya ustedes verán, si lo hacen más grande o más pequeño, no vayan a hacer un dibujito así, ¿no? Que no se entienda qué es. Tiene que ser grandecito, ¿no? Grandecito. ¿Listo? Un movimiento grandecito. Que se vea la persona bien en la hoja, que haya aire arriba, tal cual como hicimos con el de volteando la cabeza, ¿no? Haya aire arriba, que no se vaya a salir de cuadro, ¿no? Hagan como una especie de marco también en la hoja, ¿listo? No es necesario, pero sí por lo menos que determinen que haya espacio. Y ponen la hoja ahí, ¿sí? Ponen una hoja ahí, tran, ponen la hoja ahí, tran, y calcan. De pronto la hoja sería más pequeña, más o menos así y calcan. Si la partieron en dos, pues va a ser más pequeño el dibujo, ¿no? Y calcan. ¿Cómo lo ponen? Pues lo traban la hoja con la esquina del monitor, ¿cierto? El monitor normalmente tiene como un salidito, ¿cierto? De la pantalla, el vidrio del monitor, tiene como un plástico que es el marco, ¿no? Te lo traban con el marco para que les quede centrado y todas las hojas sean marcadas sobre el mismo lado. Les recomiendo que estos 12 dibujos los hagan de un solo chorizo. Es decir, no que hacen uno y después, bueno, entonces mañana hago los otros dos. No, hagan los 12 de una vez. ¿Listo? Hagan los 12 de una vez para que no tengan que al otro día, después de apagar el computador. Entonces, ¿cómo es que era? ¿Era más para aquí arriba o más para abajo? ¿O para acá o para allá? Entonces, es de una. Reencuadran ahí el personaje, ponen la hoja encima y calcan con el computador. ¿Listo? Si tienen el pivote, pues el pivote lo van a poner acá abajito. Y a ese sí les va a quedar trabado y entonces no tienen que, pueden ponerlo más, incluso en la mitad y poner el pivote por acá. ¿Listo? Ponen la hoja encima de todo esto, con todo el pivote, y ahí calcan. ¿Listo? 12 cuadros. Puede ser un movimiento así de sencillo nomás. Épale. ¿Sí? Mire. Brazos abajo y mire lo que demora esto. Tran, 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 tran. Hasta ahí. Eso es todo el movimiento. En 12 cuadros. ¿Listo? 12 cuadros. Entonces, pilas, chicos. Si consiguieron 12 acetatos, pues lo hacen en tamaño grandecito. Se va a ver mucho mejor, más nítido. Si no pudieron con los 12 acetatos y solo consiguieron 6, los cortan por la mitad y utilizan esos medios acetatos para esto. Lo mismo las hojas, ¿no? Entonces ahí sí les tocaría utilizar 6 hojas cortadas por la mitad para que lleguen a las 12 medias hojas. ¿De acuerdo, chicos? ¿Todos entendieron o no? Este ejercicio es de descifrar cuáles son los cuadros, los keyframes. Les aconsejo que vayan con la técnica de pose a pose, es decir, escojan el primero, ¿sí? En tiempo, escojan el último, este es el último, y el primero es acá. Entonces ya teniendo el 1 y el 12, ya pueden descifrar más o menos cuáles son los que siguen. Entonces, el siguiente movimiento brusco es cuando sube las manos. Entonces ya determinan ahí y ese sería uno, otro diferente. Y después se determinan los de la mitad, de pronto unos dos o tres. Este, uno, dos y ya. ¿Listo? Con esos tres ya tendría el 1, el 2, el 3 y el 4. ¿Listo? Los acetatos los vamos a utilizar de hoy en 8. De hoy en 8 vamos a necesitar los acetatos, los vinilos, el marcador de tinta indeleble, el delgado, y, perdón, acetatos, vinilos, marcador y las pinceles para los vinilos. Eso es para darle color. Los vamos a colorizar. ¿Listo? Los acetatos.
Ok,
Y
entonces solo por ahora es calcar pues
sí,
las
solo
diferentes poses.
eso. Cálquenle en las hojas, los 12 dibujos, esa es la tarea. Los 12 dibujos calcados en hoja. ¿Listo? Chicuelos,
Listo, profe.
eso. Eso, hacer el video, calcar y ya. Por favor, envíenme ¿cómo se llama? Los textos, porfis. Los textos,
Ya se los enviamos
Sara,
por WhatsApp.
Mariana, Santiago, Santi y Juan. Listo, muy bien, muy bien. Chévere. Eso es. Entonces hacen eso. Si tienen alguna duda, pues me escriben y yo les voy a ayudar. ¿De acuerdo, chicuelos? Es un ejercicio muy
Listo.
sencillo, no es muy complicado. No es muy complicado, entonces es sencillo. Entonces así quedamos juiciosos. Grábense haciendo la cuestión, si no lo han hecho. Eh, Cálquense a mano, háganlo a mano, por favor, porque quiero que tengan la experiencia de pintar. Por eso, Sarita, no te dejé que lo hicieras digital, porque quiero que tengan la experiencia de pintar en el acetato con el vinilo. ¿Listo? Eso. Listo, chicuelos. Así que vamos, se cuidan y ya terminaríamos ahí la clase.